You're listening to the Startup Spotlight,
a podcast hosted by the Cambridge University International Entrepreneurs Club. We're the hosts, Avio, Taha, and Joanna. In each episode, we'll both be chatting with a successful entrepreneur, founder, and CEO about their story, what they have learned along the way, and market insight of the industry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Startup Spotlight. I'm Taha, your host.
I'm Joanna, your host.
And today we're welcoming an amazing guest, Caya. Hello, Caya. How are you?
Doing good, guys. Nice to meet you. Thanks a lot for having me today.
It's a pleasure. So let's jump right into it. For the people who are not familiar with Slidebean, what is Slidebean?
So we started Slidebean as a presentation platform, and soon after we discovered that one of our core skills, but also one of a great focus for the company, it would end up being pitch decks and helping startups with their decks. So Slidebean today is a company that mostly helps other companies with their decks, whether it's on design, whether it's we have a software platform, an AI presentation designer that most of our customers use, but we can also dive deeper into the pitch deck process, into the writing, into the design, and then a bunch of other tools and services that surround the pitch deck process. When you're building a pitch deck, when you're trying to raise money, you need to find the investors and you need to run your financial estimation. So we built the company and evolved it into covering some of that other stuff that we know that our customers also need aside from the pitch deck.
So if I may ask you, you guys are a SaaS business, but also kind of an agency that helps entrepreneur.
Right.
Okay.
That's right. So we started with a SaaS company, and we were very passionate about building something that can scale that fast. But we sort of had a reality check with a lot of our customers, because they were coming to us and saying, "Well, no, I don't want the SaaS product. I want you to help me. I want to get on the phone with your team. I want to get some of your experience." So for the longest time, we pushed them away, we pushed them away, kind of like trying to push them into the SaaS product because we felt that was the better solution, until eventually we started thinking about it and developing a way to build that also in a scalable way.
Pitch deck is definitely essential or necessity for every startups, no matter in which industry, which sectors. And I think Slidebean is cool, like not only providing the template, but also like the consulting service. So Caya, you as the CEO of Slidebean, we would also like to know your co-founding story and also how you meet your co-founders.
Yeah, I get that question a lot, because a lot of the companies we come across are struggling to find their co-founder, and I think that the classic story of an entrepreneur is this CEO is a CEO who comes up with an idea and who thinks of the co-founder as, oh, now I need to find a developer to build this product, right? They even go and hire an agency just to build that product that they have in their heads, right? To me, the reality of that is that the CTO is such an essential piece of the company. That relationship between say executive co-founder or operations co-founder or sales co-founder, which is usually the profile of the CEO, with the product needs to be great, and that relationship is more than, hey, agency that I hired, just go and build this product and come back to me in 3 months. It's an everyday iteration process, and then the CTO needs to also be very much aware of the latest trends in terms of product, latest trends in terms of design. They need to be on top of the metrics as well to see how this new feature is working. So it's not only the CEO that can do that job or that can lead that part. You need both. To me, that's always been very clear, but companies struggle so much to find that tech co-founder that becomes an issue. Like in our case, the way I met Jose, who is our CTO, is I started networking on LinkedIn, kind of finding people that seem to have the skills that could do this, and I met with a few, and then the position and the approach to this was, I'm not hiring you. I am I have this idea for a business. We should sit down and see if we agree that this is a good business idea to pursue. And if we do, then let's get working together and agree on what the terms will be. I think that approach is much better. It's it's an approach where they feel part of that decision, because they are, and they should be part of that decision.
Yeah, that's for sure, because we always heard a business guy and also a technical guy always make a perfect teams. And I think that is also the case for Slidebean. And it's quite interesting because back in the days, like LinkedIn is not that popular as like a business tool yet. And you're very lucky, like you find the CDO, the right guy on LinkedIn, and that's amazing. And I definitely know if you have the startup ideas, and if you are hiring some agency, like outsourcing it or like hiring some employees to make your dreams come true, that would be difficult. And finding a partner that have the same passions is essential for the success of a startup. Yeah.
And it's one of the hardest parts, by the way, finding that persona.
Exactly.
We're a team of 3 co-founders. My other co-founder was a good friend of mine from high school.
Oh.
We kind of got back together, but that's another variable. I think college is probably one of the best places to recruit potential co-founders. That's where you meet people. That's where you build relationships. That's where you even you get a chance to meet people in a different context at work, but you get to know them better. You build that network in the end, and that's one of the big values of going to college. So that I think is the key, kind of networking at the right stage. We got lucky with Jose for sure.
Yeah, and how did you assess Jose? Like, was there any certain characteristic that you were looking for? And especially as we know,
you said you were having like a persona. So like, why is he the right guy?
Yeah, how did the decision come to that?
Good question. There's only so much you can tell early on. What we did with Jose and I is we met and we hung out for a little bit, right? We agreed, like, hey, we both want to start a company. We might do that together. Let's see how we work together, right? So I remember we went out for beers a couple of times, kind of discussed, I guess that we were both measuring each other. We did a couple of consulting projects. At that time, I was doing kind of like consulting, some dev consulting and some social media marketing projects for third parties. So that's how I was paying my bills back then. And yeah, like I needed Jose's help in a couple of projects to kind of implement some of the code and some of the infrastructure. So he helped out as a little bit of an exercise of, hey, how do we work together? How do I work with this guy? Also, as we started the business, we agreed on terms. We agreed on what the terms of the equity would be. We of course assigned a vesting period so that equity wouldn't be assigned right away. And we tested that over a long period of time. Like the first big commitment that Slidebean as a company had for us was when we got accepted into Startup Chile, which gave us a small check, but the whole team needed to relocate to Chile, Santiago, and we did. So the whole team, all 3 co-founders back then, we moved to Santiago for 6 months. We shared an apartment. So that was kind of like the ultimate test, right?
Wow.
Living together with your co-founders. And we did that. And after Startup Chile, we went to New York. We lived together as well. We went to San Francisco. We lived together. We lived like 9 months together in the same apartment, which was the ultimate test, right? Can you live with these guys? Can you befriend these guys? And that's, I guess, one of the good reasons why we get along very well these days.
Yeah, indeed. I totally agree. That is the ultimate test. And so what do you think makes a great founding team?
To me, a great founding team is first and foremost a team that can make the company $100,000. That to me is the basic. So the skills to get the company to $100,000 in revenue need to be inside the team. Does your company need an app to exist? Well, that needs to be a skill. Does your company need marketing to get that app in front of 100,000 people? Yes, then marketing needs to be a skill in your team. Or maybe it's an enterprise product and you need to have a network of people and a good salesperson that goes and pitches to these companies, that finds the right person in the company, does cold emailing. If that's the case, then that person needs to be in the co-founding team. The reality these days, and maybe it's a little bit different earlier on, and and maybe entrepreneurs, founders that have had success with previous companies have an easier path at this point. But the reality is that if you're a new founder, if you're a new entrepreneur, you need to get the company to somewhere in the $50,000-$100,000 range by the time you start pitching investors. That's just the reality. And you'll need to get to that point with very little money, without hiring people, with any essential people that you need. You can't hire an expert in it because you don't have any money, right? So those skills need to be in the co-founding team.
I love how pragmatic your answer is, and jump into the next question, which is, post the founding team, when do you think is the right time to start scaling and hiring employees?
It really depends. It really depends. Sometimes it's when you raise money. I think we hired our first employee before we raised any significant capital. I guess that varies a lot, but the key with that to me is hiring people that are very proactive, hopefully that are very smart. And the filters we used at that point weren't, are they really, really good at what they do? No, we didn't have the luxury of that. We had the luxury of a small budget that we could use, and finding people that could sort of grow into a position, and also that were very versatile, that could move to a bunch of different tasks. When we shared an office with other companies, we saw a lot of success with first employees that were exactly that were somebody that can move to a bunch of different tasks, almost play the role of a co-founder, but they're coming into the company at a less risky time when the company already has money to pay a salary to them.
Yes, definitely. Like first employees for the startup is very important, and they being like flexibles and also multitasking is like the important attributes of being the first employee. So as you have mentioned, for Slidebean, when at the very early stage, there's a lot of requests from the business side. For example, you need people to do the marketing, and maybe from the technical side, you need engineer to do like a software development or even like an app. I think that is quite a common question to startup, that how should founder find the right balance between growth and product?
Well, that's a great question, and it's a great question because I've so many years down the line in our company, I've seen how we've put so much weight into marketing, much more than we did in product, and our product has lagged behind, and we are aware of that. Our development team is smaller than it should be. In the early stages, it's probably my fault. I'll accept that. I ended up focusing a lot on marketing. I had a direct oversight on the budget. So, to me, it was a lot easier to sell to, and I always consult with the rest of the team and my co-founders, but it was a lot easier to sell and to decide, hey, can we spend a couple extra $1,000 on marketing this month on running this and this experiment? That was easier than saying, can we hire an extra developer this month, which is going to cost us $5,000, and we're going to have to, get them to quit their job. So we can't just say, hey, 3 months later, no, we don't need you anymore. We're going to fire you. So the decision to hire somebody is a lot harder. You're taking on responsibility even as a boss, versus spending more on marketing, right? So that was an issue, and maybe because a combination of shorter runway, we raised the money, yes, but we didn't have such a long runway. We couldn't afford to spend that much. We focused a lot on marketing, and it's paid off. Of course, we have a YouTube channel now. We've done some great stuff on SEO, but now. There's a big focus into the company to growing the technical team and sort of catching up to sort of like the big stuff that we're selling through our different channels.
It totally makes sense when people like try to spend more on marketing, because the effect you can see is in short term. Like you boost their sales, you gain revenue. But when you compare with hiring like some tech guy in your engineer team or like your tech team, that would be a much difficult decision, because you're gonna like spend a lot of money on hiring, and they are like the development time or the implementation time compared with marketing campaign takes much longer. So I think that is quite common in startup, right?
And you see a little bit of both, right? And and you're going to see then the customer feedback. On one side, you're going to see wow, this product is really, really great. I'm going to talk to all my friends about it. And that's probably the product focused people that maybe have a great product, but they're struggling a little bit with distribution to getting the word out there. And what we see instead, and what we're of course trying to fix is, I love your brand. I love your company. I'm, watch all your videos. But the product didn't work so well for me. Right. So that you eventually land in one of those two, I expect.
There's already like a trade-off, right, Taha?
Yeah, no, it is always a trade-off. But if I may, Slidebean's marketing, I think it's one of the best that I've seen in terms of startups. Your content marketing strategy is amazing. And so when it comes to pivot, I mean, comparing Slidebean in 2014 and today, what has changed?
The biggest change has been that accepting that we weren't going to go too far with just being a presentation product without a focus. Like we realized that we were competing against a player that was not only too big. We still think that PowerPoint is inefficient. We still think that Prezi or Google Slides, they're not the best tools to build presentations, but they are so big and they are almost free, or free. Google Slides is free if you have a Gmail account. That you just can't compete on a paid product with that. We could have competed on a free product or an almost free product, but then they're a suite and we're just a presentation product. So it's we're only solving part of the problem. So we realized that was not the path to go. It took us too long. I wish we would have known earlier. But then what we decided is, well, let's double down on our focus in startups, and that's what the company's been doing so far.
I see. So like you have mentioned that actually there's a lot of change. For example, like maybe Slidebean is likely more focusing on like the product size now, and also like based on like the very competitive environment, you guys are moving on like not only being like a presentation tools, but to become a more comprehensive service. So can we also get like a little preview, like a sneak peek of Slidebean's roadmap, and like just to imagine what Slidebean will look like in 10 years later? That would be exciting to know.
That's a good question. I don't necessarily know, and maybe that's a good thing. Right now, as part of this idea of, hey, we're really good at marketing, we're really good at selling to these entrepreneurs. What else can we sell to them? We're building a new product that we're calling Monthly. Which is a tool to track your SaaS platform. So we found the problem ourselves. Literally, that's how the product came to be. I realized that we have just too many SaaS platforms. I'm losing my grip on how many we have. Started looking for a platform to keep track of them and couldn't find any. The only similar platform, is sort of focused on companies that have 100 employees or more. But there is none. Like I could not find any, and I did a thorough search. So we figured, well, let's build this product. Like we can sell it to these guys. They already trust us. They already believe in our brand, and we built something for them. So Monthly, we're very bullish on Monthly because we think it could, pitch decks solve a very specific need at a very specific moment. But Monthly is a product that you would use every month, and that if the pricing is spot on and the business model is spot on, this is a product that could grow with the company for a long, long, long time. So that's what we want to build. We want to integrate deeper into these companies. We're working on that. Depending on the Monthly success, that I was building a little flow chart in my head as to like where would Slidebean go after I saw your question. But if Monthly does really well, maybe that becomes the head company. Maybe that becomes the head brand.
Wow.
That's an option. If it does intermediately well, then it's part of this suite that Slidebean already is, and then our focus would be much more on building a suite. We're only halfway through converting our brand and our product from a presentation only platform to this suite that also helps you do other things. So I think that the next step, if Monthly does average well, is building this better suite and just focusing on monetizing the suite, not just that product.
That's actually like a big move for Slidebean, like moving on to like a sole products to like I don't know, like, can I say that, like a product extensions, and maybe somehow like a product line if Slidebean is creating a suite. So I'm thinking, actually, you mentioned like Slidebean is aiming to do a suite for business, not only targeting like the pitch deck niche, but also, you know, the daily business need. So I think we are very excited to, you know, hear from you about monthly and maybe some launch and maybe some, you know, beta product for us to use and test. So yeah, and you know, like you have years of experience like coaching business for pitching and also like deck creations. So what do you think, what are the successful factors and how should founders found their perfect pitch?
So I think the pitch deck is, and what we see with the work that we do is that pitch decks in the end are stories. Are stories about a company, about how it came to be and about where it's going. Especially focused in what's happening in the next, what's happening with this round. So if you're doing a pitch to raise money, that money is probably going to fund the company for about 12, 18 months, maybe 2 years. So what's going to happen in those 2 years? That's the first question that the pitch deck should answer. But it's also a story of, hey, this is how the company came to be. This is where we see the company going. And sometimes getting that story on paper on 15 slides is really tough. Sometimes you want to talk too much about it. The general problems we see are people who can't summarize the stories in their heads is just too big to put into 15 slides. That's one case. And then another common case is there are still missing holes in that story. They don't know how they're going to get their first customers. They don't know how they're going to build it, when their product's going to launch. They don't know where they're going to use their money. So if there are holes in that story, the pitch deck suffers because they have to, they just can't fill those holes, and then they try to make up for that with other parts of the deck. So that's where we come in. That's where we come in to point out the stuff that's missing, or to summarize, to help them kind of condense that story into what it should be.
And talking about stories, how important do you think is the why to be included as part of that story?
I think it is important. It's not like I like to think of, the usual slides in a deck are like 15 slides: problem, solution, team, business model, go to market, whatnot, competitors. And one of those slides could be the why, or the why now, we usually call it. Like, why is it relevant now? And I think that it's 1/15th relevant compared to the other stuff. Right? Every single one of those slides is equally relevant. You can't skip any of them. So it's not that the why is more important than the others. I think that there's an equal relevance, and that's sort of what weighs into the deck. In other, if the company, for example, has a really, really good product that's years ahead in technology, then that deck should probably have 3 or 4 slides related to that product. And what we're seeing there is, okay, we're giving extra importance to this compared to the other things. So we're giving it 4 extra slides because it's very important. But usually the why doesn't go over one slide. It's that much important, just one of the other 15 things that you have to talk about.
So to conclude, thank you everybody for watching or listening to this podcast. Thank you, Caya, so much for joining in. And don't forget to check out Slidebean on YouTube and on their social media. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Caya.
You're welcome, guys. Thanks a lot for having me.